the racing line. A tool given to new players to stop them from going flat out at a hairpin on their first laps at Bahrain. Most people think about turning off the line, but for various reasons decide not to. And there's nothing wrong with that, but at some point people want to know how they can turn off the line and keep their current pace. This video will teach you not only how to keep your current pace after turning off the line, but how to get even faster without it. My name is Anthony, an ambassador for the Racing Line Drivers Suck Society, and this is how to drive faster without the racing line. Also, make sure to watch this video the whole way through, as I do have an extra tip in here for you guys if you want to be able to battle with racing line drivers better in full wet conditions. I've added this section into the video to remind you guys that F1 22 isn't a realistic game. It's a hybrid between realism and arcade. So why does this matter for this topic? Well, it's actually super important, as it means that there are things that you have to do on the game to be quick that real life engineers and mechanics would cringe at if you were to do on the real track.
No! God, please, no! No!
If you don't use the crap out of most curbs on the game, you will be throwing away tenths per lap compared to the top drivers. Take a look at how the real life Formula 1 drivers take the bank left-hander at Zandvoort. Now, watch how you have to do it on F1 22. So as you've just seen, small details like this will lose you time on the game. The most important part when it comes to using the racing line are the braking and traction points. Both of these are usually set in average spot to help new players from braking too late or picking up the throttle too early, meaning that once you understand how to handle the car, following those points will lose you time. So let's talk about that for a minute. Reference points are simply places on the track that you can use to know when to brake. The most common, of course, being the meter boards. However, they're not always the best option. Turn 1 at Abu Dhabi, for example. As soon as someone takes out the 100 meter board there, most players without the racing line seem to forget everything they know about driving a Formula 1 car for about 4 seconds. Wait, that's just me? Right, okay. Seriously though, meter boards can be destroyed losing your reference point, so it's usually best to find a static object that is somewhere around those meter boards. For a quick reference, most braking points will be around 100 meters from the corner for slower speed corners and around about 50 meters for higher speed corners. So go around the track of your choosing and focus on finding reference points around those meter boards. Or you could just simply watch my track guides. I promise that is not a selfless plug. However, this is a selfless plug. Now, this entire video is sponsored by Sim Racing Center. Now, if you guys don't know what SRC is, it's basically the go-to place in order to get F1 22 setups, coaching, and race preps. I think out of all of those things, the race preparation stuff really surprised me. Now, what's different about SRC versus even just me making setups and putting it on a spreadsheet is these setups are actually made by really quick drivers. Some of them are even esports drivers. So to celebrate this sponsorship, we are hosting a giveaway for you guys. So make sure to go to the link in the description or the pinned comments to get more details on this. So shout out to SRC, and I kind of forgot that I was supposed to wear this shirt during this, so here, check them out guys, seriously. As I said before, it's not enough to just match your pace without the line, you'll want to get faster without it. So here are some quick tips to remember that will help you improve your pace. Slow in, fast out. There's a reason that saying is so iconic in motorsports. Yes, you have guys like Ricardo who are known for their late braking, and that's great for overtaking, but not necessarily for being quick around the track. The best drivers on the grid, your Verstappens, your Hamiltons, your Leclercs, and your Alonsos, all tend to brake slightly earlier to get better exits. And you need to do the same. Also, for all my newbies out there watching this, remember to practice your corner types because they're not all the same. For example, since you need to prioritize the exit of chicanes, which is usually 2 corners side by side, you can sacrifice the first corner in order to open up the second one, meaning as long as you can get the car stopped in the right place, you can actually brake later into those type of corners. It's the same with hairpins actually as well. You tend to want to brake later, turn in late, and maximize the exit of that corner. Now remember how I said before to use as much curbs as possible? Yeah, you really want to do that, especially when you're going into a corner. Make sure to brake on the curbs because you can get away with doing that on F1 22, which is something you cannot really do in real life. So take advantage of that. Just remember not to continue doing that if you tend to switch between the Formula 1 games and sim titles pretty regularly. Lastly, something that people don't actually tend to do, practice your braking and throttle points whilst battling other cars. Where you brake, turn in, and pick up the throttle will be different when battling with other cars. If you're on the inside, for example, going into a slower speed corner, you'll need to brake early and let the car roll into the corner. However, if you're on the outside going into a faster corner, you can afford to brake later and then just push your car around the outside of your opposition. Experience with driving without the racing line will give you the confidence to make different types of moves and be just generally more consistent on a track. So remember the extra tip that I mentioned at the beginning of this video? Well, this is it. We all know that the racing line is a huge advantage in full wet conditions when people can barely see their own wheel, let alone the car ahead. So the best tip I have to combat that if you're on PC is to simply turn off the particle settings within your graphics settings. This will get rid of all the spray on your screen coming from the rain and other cars ahead, meaning that you can see a lot more clearer. Sadly, I'm pretty sure you can't do this on console, so the best way to get the same effect would to simply be to look backwards and then forwards really quickly. Being quick without the racing line can be challenging, however it can also be fulfilling when you finally put in a quicker lap time without the racing line than with it. It's also a skill that can be transferred to different cars and tracks outside of Formula 1. F1 cars these days tend to not use traction control, so in order to learn how to drive without it on the F1 22 games, I highly recommend checking this video out on my channel.